The main link that you can share with people right away and continue to spread around is the same .xml feed address that you've been submitting to the directories. Not everybody will know what to do with that yet, though. Make sure your friends know how to subscribe manually to your podcast in their favorite media players, just like you did to check that your feed was working. It should also show up nicely in most web browsers now, although they might need to install a quick RSS add-on in some cases. Send out an email announcement to your network when your podcast feed is ready for subscribers. Most people have heard about podcasts by this point, but maybe it'll be an easier introduction for some of the new listeners if you just provide a link to your listing in one of the directories or apps you got into. Find your podcast with their search function and then copy the URL of that page, or see if they provide any quicker ways that you can share it. To get your iTunes link, hover over your podcast artwork in the store and right-click to copy and paste the address of your preview page. It's the same link that they included in the confirmation email letting you know that your podcast was approved. This will take people to a regular browser page that gives them an option to install or launch the store and reach your full podcast listing there so they can subscribe. By clicking the arrow beside the subscribe button on your store listing, you also have a few sharing options that will send an email invitation or post the page on your Facebook and Twitter account. It's a good idea to put links for iTunes and some of the other directories on your site so people have lots of listening options. You'll also want to encourage your friends to rate and review your show in all of these different directories. iTunes especially will favor higher rated podcasts and ones with more reviews in their search results. When you let people know about all of the places they can find your show, ask them to leave comments and ratings to get things rolling and help create some early momentum. The iTunes Store actually has a different page for your podcast in every country, and you'll only see reviews and ratings from listeners at home. There might be lots more from people in other parts of the world that aren't visible to you right away. Check those by adding country abbreviations to the address of your iTunes preview page between the apple.com and podcast parts of the URL. Add CA for Canada, GB for England, AU for Australia, or even CN and JP for China and Japan. Google iTunes country codes or check the Resources and Useful Links module to take a look at how your iTunes podcast listing appears all over the world. Every time that you add a new podcast episode to your RSS feed, you should also give it a new page on your website with the full track listing and maybe some extra info and artist links. That's easy to do in WordPress by making a new post and assigning it to your podcast category. It'll show up in that section of your site and also maybe on the front page if you're featuring the most recent stuff there. Instead of just giving out the direct MP3 file address of your episode, share the link to that whole web page. It looks great summarized on social networks and will encourage visitors to explore your site more while they listen, which should be one of your main goals. Try to find relevant groups, pages, online communities, and message boards where you can post that link to your podcast. Spreading your show far and wide will lead more people back to your home base, but be selective and respectful when you share stuff. Try to get involved in some other discussions so it doesn't come across like spam. You'll probably also want to create your own group or profile page specifically for the new podcast. Think about trying to post your new episodes at times of the day when they'll potentially reach the most people. Studies have shown that lunch and early afternoon on weekdays is the best time for that on most social media sites. DJ mixes might have a better chance of getting attention near the end of the week when people are getting in gear for the weekend. You should avoid posting on Saturdays and Sundays though, because your fans are checking their accounts less often. I find that's when my podcast traffic is actually the highest, but make sure to remind people about your new shows before then. WordPress users who want to share podcast episodes more quickly with their social networks can take a look at the free plugin from NextScripts that will let you post to a bunch of them all at the same time. You can find it with a search for Social Networks Auto Poster in the Plugins section. The artists and labels that you feature might also be really happy to hear that you included them in your latest show, so be sure to tag them or even send a quick message. When I make a new podcast episode, I still like to burn it to a few old-fashioned CDs. I can randomly give those out to people I meet at parties, new fans who are asking for my website after hearing me play, or just to my friends so that they have something for the car. You never know where a good CD with your name and website written on it will end up. People really seem to appreciate getting a physical copy, especially if the sound quality is better than the MP3 version. Even though CDs are on the way out, there are still lots of situations where it's easier for people to pop one in and listen that way. USB sticks are getting so small and cheap, pretty soon it'll be affordable to give those out with a few of your recent episodes on them. There are lots of companies online that will print your podcast artwork right onto different kinds of custom USB sticks, cards, or wristbands. A promoter or bar owner might be really impressed with that and more likely to listen and check you out. Including videos, photos, and a bio in there would be a really effective little press kit and make a great impression. You could also print up some posters, flyers, stickers, or business cards to spread the word about your new podcast wherever you go. The more ways you can come up with to increase awareness, the better. Building your audience takes time, but everything you can do feeds off the other stuff, and your numbers will grow like a snowball rolling down a hill. In the expansion section, I'll give you a few more ideas for things that you can do to get people's attention and promote your show, like making videos or compiling DJ charts of your favorite new releases.